Professor Lucas, my question to you is that suddenly if you look at the tweets of Donald Trump, it's all boiling down to Russia, Russia's oil. Why?
Well, let me say, first of all, that Donald Trump is not coherent and he's not literate economically or politically. There are a couple of issues here that should be approached logically. One is the question of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and how you limit that invasion. And that brings into play the Trump administration's threat of 100% tariffs on countries that deal with Russia. Now, that's certainly an important issue to be raised with India, which has purchased a lot of Russian oil, but it should be done in a respectful fashion. Secondly, Donald Trump's economic statements regarding India, frankly, are nonsense. It is true that India has had a relatively high tariff on US products compared to the rest of the world, an average tariff of around about 11% last year. However, Trump's approach to the tariffs shows no knowledge of how to deal with tariffs, whether you talk about India, Japan, South Korea, the European Union, Canada, or Mexico. Trump's approach to tariffs is a personal, bullying, extortionate approach, and he has just chosen to make India, for some unexplained reason beyond the Russia issue, there's something beyond this. For some reason, he's decided to make India a whipping boy.
Ambassador Sikri, is there an issue beyond which is not in public domain?
Well, I think, first of all, there is the element of President Trump's total unpredictability. And as the previous panelist said correctly, this is one of the issues that have just come up like that. We have been negotiating with the government of the USA, and as President Trump himself indicated, the negotiations are still on. But the statement by our Minister Piyush Goyal was very clear that India is going to protect the interests of its farmers, its entrepreneurs, and the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So we are not going to give in on India's interests, but our reaction has been very calm, very collected, very cautious. We are prepared to continue the negotiations. And if the tariffs come, we will certainly look at it, because it is a matter of great surprise. When you talk of purchase of Russian oil, the European Union is buying huge amounts of Russian oil. And of course, even more through India, because India is importing the crude and then the refined product is going to the European Union. We know that it's very large. We know that America is also continuing to do business with Russia in purchases of uranium and certain other products. In fact, President Trump was very confident during his campaigning that he would end the Ukraine-Russia conflict within 24 hours. Of course, it hasn't happened, even though so many months have passed. And now he's, putting pressure on Russia as well, saying he's giving 50 days and then 10 days and so on and so forth. So I think we have to just take it in its stride. We have to be very clear about our own interests.
Ambassador Sikri, there is one thing which I would like to bring to your notice is that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, in an interview to a leading channel in the United States of America said, India is not a great global actor. And the President's team and the trade team is frustrated with the Indian delegation. I mean to say, these are not random statements emanating from United States of America. There is a sense of coherence.
No, let me say that quite clearly, that when President Trump says that India is a dead economy, doesn't he know that India is now soon going to be the third largest economy in the world? How do you compare that statement with India being a dead economy? There is no correlation between these two statements. And when Mr. Bessent says about the India is not a big player, that could be their view. It doesn't mean that the rest of the world agrees with that view. I'm just saying that if President Trump is trying to put pressure, whether by talking about Pakistan, by saying that Pakistan will sell oil to India, we also have our own reserves in the region of the Andaman Islands, and I'm sure that we have equal capacity to develop those. So that's not the point. The point is that we are prepared to do negotiations, but we are prepared that if the negotiations don't succeed, we will deal with the situation.
Okay.
We have a question about the amount that is. India is not a high exporting country. Exports account for only 2.2% of India's GDP. So we know how to deal with the situation, and Indian interests are paramount. Despite that, we've been very collected and cautious and
Okay.
calm about the response, and we will continue the negotiations.
Okay. Ajit, your opinion on President Trump using Pakistan as a leverage? I think it's after decades any American president has done something like this.
True. President Trump is a dealer, right? He's more a dealer than a leader. He's been, he's worked in the reality sector for a long time. So he actually is, he's almost as if he's shuffling cards, right? He'll throw one card at a time. First, he'll throw Russian oil. If that doesn't work, then he'll say, oh, but India is also a member of the BRICS. And BRICS are hurting, the dollar. There's an onslaught against the dollar. So therefore, I'll punish India. And then he'll move to Pakistan. And then he'll claim that, after all, I was instrumental in ending the war between India and Pakistan. So he sort of basically is going to negotiate. In fact, the latest I picked up was that he's still open to negotiations on the 25% tariffs, but he wants India to slash its very high tariff rates that it has had in the past, which is true. Indian tariffs in certain sectors is extraordinarily high. So he's going to pressurize that. But at the same time, it's going to affect quite a lot of our sectors, gems and jewelry, automobile, auto components, textiles and apparels, chemicals, and specialty chemicals, for example. Steel and aluminium faces 25%, seafood, dairy, even agriculture is certain. For example, Amul and others, if there is a negotiation, it's going to be devastated. So we actually face a serious threat. The point is that, remember, in geopolitical terms, we are very close to the US, right?